in just a second.
Where do you want us looking? Like this way, this way?
Yeah. So we have our live audience and then our virtual audience is here on the cameras to the side. So you can look at both.
Okay.
Whichever feels comfortable for you. Yes. I know, and we appreciate your understanding and patience as we try to accommodate both audiences and make sure everyone can participate today. So, all right, well, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are really excited for this Cats in the Corner Office special edition, Women in Leadership. My name is Lacey Niemeyer-John, and I am the Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development. And this event is a part of a series called Cats in the Corner Office. And we actually invite leaders from our Wildcat community to come and to speak about their experiences and about their careers. So whether you are in person or you are in the house today, we are really excited and thankful that you're here to join us. And we are also in partnership with our Arizona bookstores. So don't forget to get your swag and show your Arizona pride. I know there's a lot of Wildcats in the house today. And Daisy, I think you are the most festive. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Thank you. And you can always find more of these events. We do these throughout the year, and you can see all the schedules as they come up on our website at arizonaalumni.com/career lab. And you can follow us on Twitter at Arizona Career Lab or at Alumni Career Lab. And in addition, we also had the panelists recommend their favorite leadership books. And so for those of you who are in the audience today, in the live audience, we actually have those books for purchase in the back so that you'll be able to pick those up and even speak to some of the panelists about why they like those books and how that has influenced their careers. So today's conversation is going to be panel style, and we are going to actually have a student moderator, a young upcoming leader, navigate that conversation and facilitate those questions. So let me introduce Jordan Shelton. Jordan is a senior double majoring in management, information systems, and operations supply chain management. She also has a minor in public relations. She is a member of the Bobcat Senior Honorary, where she serves as the class secretary. Jordan is part of Alpha Phi. It's an international fraternity serving formerly as the new member assistant. Also, she served as the vice president of risk management, and she is currently the chapter president. So upon graduation in May 2020, coming up, Jordan looks to continue to serve Alpha Phi as an educational leadership consultant. And then she will be facilitating national recruitment in the intake process. She will be inspiring future leaders and broadening her professional network for a future career in business. So I'm not done. Jordan is still very active on campus. She has achieved several honors, including the Wildcat Excellence Award and the Alpha Phi Undergraduate Scholarship. Jordan is also an active member on campus in the local community, and is involved with the Eller Elite, Professional Women in Business Association, and several nonprofits here in Tucson. Jordan understands the importance of giving back, and she has volunteered with Eller's Make a Difference Day, the American Red Cross, and the Alpha Phi Foundation in support of women's heart health. Jordan is an aspiring leader, and she values generosity, loyalty, and kindness. So Jordan, I'm excited to have you. Please come up here and
Thank you, Lacey, and thank you all of you for being here today, online and in person. I know I am very excited for this conversation. I hope you all are too. But before we dive into the questions, I would like to take some time to introduce each of our four very special panelists here today. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they are very accomplished women. They have a lot going on. So I'm going to read from my screen and then we'll dive into the questions. All these women were named Biz Tucson's 2021 Women Leading the Region. but there is so much more to point out about each and every single one of them. First, we have Susan Gray. Susan Gray is the president and chief executive officer of Tucson Electric Power, Unisource Energy Services, and their parent company, UNS Energy Corporation. Susan began her career as an engineering student in 1994 at TEP and established herself as a collaborative, inclusive leader who inspires a culture of safety, recognition, and transparency through a values-driven approach. She was named Vice President of Energy Delivery in 2015, later promoted to Chief Operating Officer in 2019, and recently Susan was named President in January of 2020 and became CEO in January of 2021. Based in Tucson, Arizona, Susan serves on several boards, including Southern Arizona Leadership Council, Sun Corridor, Eller College of Management, and the College of Engineering, and the Boys and Girls Club of Tucson. Susan earned a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and an MBA from the University of Arizona, where she also swam on the swim and dive team for the Wildcats. Thank you, Susan. Next, we have Adriana Kong-Romero. Adriana Kong-Romero joined Bank of America in 1998, and as president, she is Bank of America's leader in Tucson. She is also Global Banking and Markets West Region Market Executive. Adriana connects businesses, families, and individuals to the banking and investment teams that will help improve their financial lives. She also leads the work to deploy Bank of America's resources across the market and the region to address social and economic concerns and build strong communities. Adriana is active in the Tucson community, serving on several boards, such as Sun Corridor Incorporated. She is a member of the Southern Arizona Leadership Council. She is a part of Eller's College Center for Leadership and Ethics Advisory Board. She is originally from Douglas, Arizona. She graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Business and Public Administration with a major in finance from the University of Arizona. In addition, Adriana also has a Master's of Arts in Organizational Management from the University of Phoenix. Thank you, Adriana. Next, we have Daisy Jenkins. Daisy M. Jenkins is the president of Daisy Jenkins and Associates, specializing in human resources consulting and executive and developmental coaching. She is a senior advisor with the Theo Executive Group, headquartered in Irving, Texas. Daisy is a retired Raytheon company executive, and to note, she was the very first woman of color to serve as a VP at Raytheon. She is also a published author. Yes. She is also a published author with articles locally and nationally as a Public Voices Fellow through the op-ed program and the University of Arizona. Daisy has authored 3 novels, some of which are available today for purchase. These include Within These Walls, A Journey Through Sexism and Racism in Corporate America, The Green Machine, and Heaven on Earth. For her outstanding work, Daisy has been recognized by being named the 2015 Si Se Puede Legacy Award, Women Who Lead from the University of Arizona Gender and Women's Studies, the Phenomenal Woman of the Year from the UA Black Alumni, 2007's Tucson Woman of the Year, and Distinguished Alumnus from the James E. Rogers College of Law. She holds bachelor's and master's degrees in communication from the University of Hawaii and a Juris Doctor degree from the University of Arizona James E. Rogers College of Law. Thank you, Daisy. Last but certainly not least, we have Lisa Lavallo. Lisa Lavallo joined Cox in 2008, and she now is the vice president and market leader for Cox Communications Southwest region. She is responsible for all the Southern Arizona business, public affairs, and community relations functions in both Pima and Cochise counties. In her career, Lisa has also been a successful entrepreneur, adjunct professor, and ran for the Arizona State Legislature. She grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and is an active leader in the community, serving on several community boards, including Sun Corridor, the Southern Arizona Leadership Council, the Tucson Airport Authority, the University of Arizona College of Science, Tucson Medical Center, and the Reed Park Zoo. In addition, Lisa also serves on the board for Unisource Energy, a subsidiary of Fortis Incorporated and the parent company of Tucson Electric Power. For her work and service, Lisa has been recognized several times, including being named Woman of the Year by the Tucson Metro Chamber of Commerce, a Woman of Influence by Inside Tucson Business, a Woman on the Move by the YWCA. She was given the Spirit of Philanthropy Award by the Association of Fundraising Professionals and was given a Phyllis Engler Woman of Excellence Award from the American Advertising Federation of Tucson. Lisa is a graduate from the University of Arizona with a bachelor's degree in English, where she was the student body vice president and played on the Arizona women's basketball team. Lisa received her MBA in 2017 from the University of Eller College of Management and graduated with academic honors. Thank you, Lisa. I told you they were all really accomplished. So let's, again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. Let's get into it. I know I'm really excited for these next couple of questions. I prepared a few questions myself, but at the end of those questions, we will be opening up the discussion to not only our in-person audience, but also our online audience, the ones taking it at home, maybe on the couch. But seriously, if you have a question, please wait till the end. We will open that up at that time. And then if you are online, please be sure to use the Q&A feature. Submit your question there and we will get it answered. But ladies, are you ready? All right, let's get started. So we are going to have Susan start this question off. Is that okay?
Sure.
Perfect. We'll go down the list. Susan and all of you have incredible and inspiring careers. Can you share a few key decisions or even defining people that set you in that trajectory that led you to your successes?
Sure. Yeah, I think both. So I started at Tucson Electric Power as a student engineer, was hired full-time as an engineer. But about 5 years into my career, I was offered a rotation through the operations group. This was a lateral move. There was nothing shiny about it other than trying something new. And I decided to do it. By the end of my rotation, I begged them to not send me back. And so, as Jordan mentioned, I became the chief operating officer a few years ago. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn something new, something that's not traditional for an engineer and certainly not for a female. Along those lines as well, I was offered to do a special project with electric vehicles. Tucson was part of the Department of Energy EV launch or the EV project that was partnering with Nissan at the time. And one of the vice presidents asked me if I would lead that project. Well, that vice president was Dave Hutchins, who became the CEO. We got to work closely together. It was a great opportunity for me to learn from him. He's an amazing leader. He's still my boss, but just at our parent company now. So I think just being willing to take on new assignments, try something new, not necessarily follow a linear path in your career is important. I also think I've learned a lot from leaders along the way. So some really great bosses and some really not great bosses. I think you take a little bit from each of them and kind of define your own leadership style. And I think, learning kind of from some servant type leaders, learning from some folks who are really focused on themselves, it helped me develop, what was important to me. To me, it's all about people, treating people with respect, making sure they feel valued and heard, and leading in a way that is centered on my values.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what you had to say. I definitely coming to college took the idea of I'm just going to say yes to everything. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you know what? That's a learning experience as well. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else? I'll open it up to all of you. Anyone else have anything to say in regards to this question?
I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, taking on additional roles or responsibilities, I mean, that makes such a difference. We're all busy. But sometimes that's where you make some of your best connections. And throughout my career, I've been fortunate to just have some great mentors, sponsors, but it all came from a lot of these different assignments or employee networks that we have. And, I probably would not be here today if in this role had it not been through some of those connections that I made there.
Awesome. Would you say that building your network, building those connections with people is probably one of the greatest ways that you can grow as a leader, develop as a leader, and really transform your career?
Yes, definitely.
I would say quitting my job at Procter & Gamble was probably a pivotal moment to go work in a family business that was not funded, that did not have any capital, and was international. So that was a big change, a big aha moment to try something way outside of the comfort zone. And then also to work with family, which is really shapes you in different ways. So, I think that was a pivotal decision to leave corporate America and try something completely different. And then with that 14 years was an international experience and traveling to a lot of different countries and working with a lot of different cultures. It really gives you a different perspective on how to be an American, how to be a citizen. And so that I think were pivotal times for me. And I'm still learning from great leaders, like all these ladies up here. I wish I could just be with Daisy, and not with all you guys for a while. But no, there's a lot of great leaders out there from all different walks of life. It's not titles, it's what's in their heart that you really learn the most from.
And I would add, having a boldness. At a point in my career where I felt that concrete ceiling was just not going to let me through, I convinced my company to send me to law school. And they only sent engineers to law school, so they said. However, I was like a pit bull on someone's leg saying, you are going to send me to law school. So they did. And so that was a major breakthrough. It's amazing the validation you get when you tell someone, oh, I have a law degree. Oh, I'm a member of the bar. So, and they get a little scared of you too.
Thank you for sharing. Also, love what you have to say about boldness. I think, for every woman in here, I think that is a trait and a quality that all of us should wish to possess and definitely show in our careers. But let's move on. I really like this one. I think this one pertains to all of our college students here. Adriana, are you okay if we kick it off to you for this one? All right. So thinking back to your college self, what were your career goals when you started college? And then we'll maybe move on to maybe how they changed.
All right. So I was going to go into sports medicine, but I quickly, put that aside. And then I started off in the business college in accounting. And after taking a couple accounting classes, I actually changed to finance. I didn't like putting together the financials. I liked analyzing them. And so I continued down that path. But from a career perspective, I didn't know what I was going to do when I graduated. But I started off working at Bank of America part-time, and it's kind of weird the way I started there. It was because it stayed open longer, so it gave me time to go to school and then go work in the afternoon as a teller. And similar to Susan, you get some great experience by working in different roles, and that's kind of how I started. Then narrowing and defining more of what I wanted to do once I graduated. When I graduated, I actually went into more of a wealth management, portfolio management. And then I jumped over to the business side, but that it changes, and that's where you have to be flexible and, do what you love.
Yeah. Okay. I have a follow-up question to this.
Okay.
I know I experience this. I don't know if any other college student experiences this, but the typical question of what are you going to do after college? How did you maybe navigate? I know it seemed like you maybe switched a few different times until you really found your place. How did you go about, okay, I'm a graduate, now what? Like, what was kind of that thought process or that process for you?
Yeah. Great question. And it's kind of funny because it goes back to the first question, and it was the contacts that I made. And I didn't see my career at Bank of America, oddly, and fast forward 20 years later. But, when I graduated, I was there part-time. And it was the connections that I made when they heard I was applying elsewhere that they're like, no, you need to start looking at this and you need to talk to this person. And that's actually how I went into the wealth management portfolio role. And it was the great leaders and mentors that I had that kind of pulled me back and said, you're not going anywhere.
Love that. Susan, would you like to Did your career goals change ever in your
For sure.
lifetime?
Yeah, when I started school, I was pre-med. I was studying biology. And Jordan mentioned I was on the swim team. I was having a ton of fun and was a little worried that my grades weren't going to get me into med school. So 2 years into that, I decided I should have a fallback plan, which was engineering. I wanted to do biomedical engineering. And I met a boy who went to school here, lived in Tucson, and wanted to stay for the summer. And my dad said, hey, you should, check out with Tucson Electric Power, see if you can get an internship. And so while it seems like I was in the family business, I wasn't headed in that way, but my grandfather and father both worked for electric utilities. So my dad sort of steered me this direction, but I was like, that's not going to be my career. It's just a summer job. And I ended up falling in love with it. Also married the boy, so it was worth staying in town.
The perfect summer, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Daisy, did your career goals ever change?
She's asking me to go back 57 years. Yes, they did. So I've always wanted to be a person of influence who made a lot of money. And so my goal was, so I focused in communication, organizational communication, so that I could be persuasive. And also I knew I had the intellect to lead. And so, and imagine as a woman of color, there were so many things that got in the way of that. And that's why I had to focus on how can I be the most effective communicator, even though I am smart as, oh, heck. And so, yeah, it changed periodically. But the primary goal was I want to be a leader in a company. I want to be a lawyer, and I want to make a lot of money. That was it.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. And Lisa,
Well,
I'm assuming your career goals changed as well, if everyone else
I
has.
guess I could sum it up this way. The gentleman that hired me for my current job, on my last conversation with him before he offered me the job, he held up my resume and said, what kind of resume is this? I mean, you're an adjunct professor, you worked at Procter & Gamble, what is this? And I'm like, it's not a resume, it's my life. So, I would say when I was in college, I just got very involved at the university, and through that, people found me because I was making the right connections and doing the right things and participating in a lot of activities outside of the classroom. And so when I was in school, in those days, companies like Procter & Gamble, who I worked for, came to campus and identified kids that were involved in athletics and student government and sororities and fraternities, and they called us. So I never imagined myself selling soap, but that was certainly the way it started.
Lisa, if you don't mind me asking, since you were so involved on campus in our culture here at U of A, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for maybe freshmen or just students at the university trying to build their network, trying to grow? Like, how should they go about doing that?
Well, I mean, you try to do something you're passionate about, right? Playing basketball was something I had been doing. And so you build a connection there. But there's so many opportunities at the university, and I think it sometimes is overwhelming. So just get started. Pick something and start doing it and stick with it. This is the other thing I've noticed from when thinking back. Trying something and not sticking with it does not establish your reputation. If you're going to do it, even if it's maybe a club you didn't really love, finish out the term, stick with it for a year, because something magical will happen that you probably missed by saying, I'm not sure this is for me, or I don't feel like I belong. Stick it out a little while longer, but just get started. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Great stuff. We are going to move on to the next question. Daisy, do you mind starting off for us?
Not at all.
Okay, this is a good one. I really like this one. Daisy, we hear a lot about imposter syndrome and finding your seat at the table when it comes to women in leadership. Did you ever have similar feelings? And if so, how did you eventually find your seat at the table? Take us through the story. I want to hear it.
Wow. Which story do I want to tell? You have to understand, I'm one of the pioneers. I can tell you that I always felt that I belonged at the table. And so no one was going to deny me my seat at the table. And I'll give you an example. So when I first became a director, and we would go into these meetings, and only the men sat at the table because the women were in support functions and they sat along the wall. So I said, you know what? This is the last day I am sitting on this wall. So I had my assistant go to the meeting early and put my portfolio at the table so that it was there and nobody could take it. So everybody comes into the room and here I am sitting at the table. And one of the guys comes in who's normally at the table, looks at me, and he didn't say anything, but his gesture was wall. And my gesture to him was wall. And so we did this every time there was a meeting, and pretty soon they said, doggone it, I guess we just might as well let her stay here. But what I say that is that there are times, especially in my position, being sometimes the only woman in the room, I would make a comment and it would be just dismissed. And another guy makes the same comment and, oh, Joe, great comment. And my response to that, and this is what stopped him from saying it, what made that comment so great for Joe when I just said it? So it was, again, getting that boldness and saying, I belong at this table and you will not deny me my seat. And that's it.
Thank you for sharing, Casey. And I want to hear from all of you. So let's go back to Susan. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome before? If so, how did you find your seat at the table?
Yeah, but first I have to say thank you
Yeah.
for being a pioneer. You have paved the way for all of us. So thank
right.
you. And I just admire your courage and your boldness to do it that way. I don't have a story like that. That's incredible. So, I think that as I've taken on new roles and kind of taken that next step up, always the first little bit of my time in that role, I think, do they really know who I am? Like they probably shouldn't have promoted me. I wasn't ready for this job. And so I think, I always suffer from that imposter syndrome, and having started this job in January, I'm still, getting my feet under me. But I think it's just about taking the time to learn and grow and showing up with confidence, whether you have it or not, fake it till you make it. I think that, every day we probably have the opportunity to fade into that imposter syndrome fear, or to make the choice like Daisy did. I belong at this table and I'm going to take this seat. So.
Love that. Yeah, I know I definitely have experienced it, even just like in my Greek life experiences in Bobcat Senior Honorary, like you kind of get thrown into different positions and you're like, okay, well, like, here I go, let's just do it. Let's have the confidence to do so. Thank you for sharing. Adriana, do you have anything that you would like to add on to?
So mine's a little bit different. I mean, I don't like the term imposter syndrome. Or do you suffer from imposter syndrome? So, suffering, it's like imposter, you think fraud,
Fraud, a banker.
identity theft. I'm like, that's the banker in me. But, and then syndrome, do I need a Tylenol for that? And, there's women like Daisy that have been pioneers, and that's what's paved the way for us as well. And, my seat at the table, I earned it by working hard, making those connections and believing in myself. Imposter syndrome is really more of a psychological piece that you don't belong or that you're not supposed to be there. So it really goes back to reframing. And I don't like it because it always comes up with its gender or ethnic discussions, but everyone suffers from this. We're all human.
Yeah.
And so, we've had those roles that we feel like we don't know what we're doing. But it's not as for men, oddly so. So that's why I kind of rephrase it. Even at work, I talked to our market HR partner and I told her, I'm like, I don't like that. So now they're having a different reframing, how do you get past self-doubt and get there. And, like I said, I earned my seat at the table by working hard, making those connections. And I just happen to be a female Hispanic leader.
Yeah. Well, rare air, regular air. So I guess I'll give you the formula for getting over imposter syndrome is you got to really analyze your fear of failure. So if what is causing you to worry that you're inadequate or might not know, it's because you're afraid you might fail. And some of the best things I've learned in life is when things don't go well. So, that's, if you have to kind of sit at a table where you're not so sure you should be at the adult table yet, and you'd like to go back to the kiddie table, ask yourself about what am I going to learn here if it doesn't work out? What's the worst thing that can happen? And so that's kind of how I think I tricked my brain into reframing that issue.
Thank you, all of you, for sharing. I know this is, self-doubt, something that we all face. I'm sure everyone in this room at some point has to. So thank you for speaking to it. Thank you. All of the incredible stuff. Couple more. Lisa, are there barriers or challenges that you have faced along your journey? If so, can you speak to those a little bit?
I think there probably have been, and I don't pay much attention to them. So if they were there, I didn't notice them. I just find a way around it. So to me, it's like anything. If you're going towards, you're walking this path and something kind of gets in the way, you figure out, can I go over it, around it, dig under it? So it wasn't about me. It was about, there was a barrier there. It was like an inanimate object almost. I think that's, again, how I framed it to push through some of those moments where you felt like things were stalling. And also I think it's hard for barriers to get in your way if you create a lot of personal momentum, right? And so you've got to constantly have momentum. Momentum, I think, is a secret ingredient for success. And if you've got a lot of momentum, a big barrier, you're just gonna crash into it and it's gonna just explode and you just keep on going. So that's kind of, I would say, my answer to that.
If you don't mind me asking, I've never heard anyone really use, when you're talking about this, a barrier of entry, about momentum. Will you speak a little more? Like, are you talking being prepared, being passionate? What does that really look like to you?
Well, when I was working in a startup business, my father said to me, on Monday, you need to make 50 phone calls. So maybe by Friday, you've got 10 return calls. So there's a amount of activity that you have to generate in order to get outcomes. And especially if you're managing change and some of these things, it can take a long time, you can get worn down. So, I think it's all of those things. There's table stakes stuff, and then there's just instincts and, your desire to lead and push through. And oftentimes you're the only person that has that passion. And usually that person wins in the end.
Daisy, how have you overcome some of the challenges that you face in your career?
So probably, wow, one of the long-standing challenges was being the only one, which to me is no fun. And so I would often hear, oh, you're so different and all of those things. And one of the things that annoyed me the most were people who would say, you are so articulate. And how did you learn to talk? And someone actually did that to me during a major meeting. And my response was very simple. It started out with a hard consonant, da-da, and then it went to mama, and that's how I learned to talk. And so it's, I know it's
so awesome.
But I mean, it was, and then people said, oh, you were so mean to her. And I'm like, I'm the one who was insulted. So it was just having to deal with those things and not internalize them and know that everything that you said or did was clearing the path for someone else behind you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Love that. Thank you for sharing. Adriana, how have you overcome some challenges as well?
So with my story, it's really about life and pivoting and resiliency. You go to school, graduate high school, you do well in school, you study hard, you get that result. came to the U of A, studied, graduated, doing everything right. Then I, started working full-time as a portfolio manager, and 9/11 happened. And that was the last one in, first one out. And so next thing I know, I'm laid off, and I'm wondering, it's like, but I did everything right. And, but life happens, and that's where it really comes back to resiliency, reassessing, and they kept me on. I actually didn't, I was given a package, but I actually was stayed on with our consumer team in a role they created until another role came up. And it goes back to the networking and making those connections. But, sometimes life is going to happen. I mean, look back to 2020, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And it's for those of you that are coming out, the job market is different, but it's really reassessing and pivoting and having that resiliency.
Thank you. Yeah, that word resilient, it's a big one. And I want to kind of touch a little bit more on the year 2020, how the business industry, how the world really is still recovering from that. How can anyone be more resilient as we enter, or as my class enters the workforce?
Really it's finding, what you like, what are your passions? And I think that's one of the most important things. And when you think about pre-pandemic, we were all on this like hamster wheel, going. And then the world stopped. And that's when I realized, I think I needed to reassess some things, and because I was enjoying it, the kind of quietness. And before we started, when things started kind of going back to normal, we started talking about going back to the office. I did a start, stop, and continue. And, what are some of the things that I want to stop, that I learned, I didn't like, continue, or even start. And so, we always say those hobbies, and all of a sudden we had time. So I want to start, cooking or taking more pictures, focusing on photography. So I think, those are some of the things that as you start to reassess, it's finding your passions and what you like.
Thank you for sharing. So everyone got to answer that question, right? Oh, Susan,
That's okay. Yeah.
let's hear it.
Okay, yeah. So early in my career, I was a supervisor in line construction, and they called me the girl because I was the only female in the group. I actually liked it. Sometimes they called me the princess. I was okay with that too, because I stood out. Everyone knew who I was. And I was the brother my brother never had. So I was perfectly fine hanging out with the guys, talking about football. And so I think the way I navigated through that time was I just asked a ton of questions. I would, they work in underground vaults sometimes that are super dirty. I'd get down in the vault and sit with them for hours and watch them work. I'd go up in the bucket, 100 feet up in the bucket, scared to death, but didn't tell them that I was scared, just to kind of learn their craft and understand what they do. And, people love to talk about their work. So I just asked them about, tell me about your job. All along the way, I'm learning at the same time. And then some of my peer supervisors who were like, why is she leading with us? I would offer my strengths that maybe complemented theirs. So I'm really good at spreadsheets. So I'd offer to, hey, I can manage the budget for you if you'd like, and do your spreadsheets for you. So just kind of finding my way and my specific unique skills that I brought to the job.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing. I know I tell girls in my chapter all the time, I'm like, it's okay that you're the only one. Like, show them why you're the only one, like, let's do it. Okay. Just a couple more questions here. Let's see, Susan, what advice do you have for aspiring women leaders for defining success in their own lives? Just general, broad pieces of advice that we can take with us.
Yeah, when you talk about defining success, personally, I always say that I'm only successful if my whole family is successful. So I think about my husband and my 2 kids, and they're super supportive of my career. They, they're my biggest cheerleaders for sure. But if my success comes at their expense and they're suffering and they're not thriving as a result of the time that I'm spending in my career, then I'm not successful. And then when I think about success in business, it's not just about what we accomplish, but how we accomplish it. So I focus a lot about, I talk a lot about values and behaviors and how we work together not just to achieve the first thing in front of us, but because we were able to do it together and we felt good about the process, we're now willing to go as a team to do the next thing and the next thing, and we're more successful.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Adriana, any advice for aspiring young leaders?
Yeah, I mean, success is such an individual, how you define it. But it's finding happiness, work-life balance. And, for me, am I leaving the world a better place in everything that I do? And whether it's family or professionally with my team, my community, that's really, what drives me. And sometimes it's even micro goals that you set for yourself. So it's defining that and then setting those goals and even stretch goals too. That's going to help you to define your own success.
Yeah, love that. I always say one small act of kindness a day will change at least one person's life or one person's day. And it's a good thing to accomplish in at least one day.
Yeah.
Daisy, any advice for aspiring young women and leaders?
Yeah, I think it should establish your brand and let your brand be excellence, kindness, and humility. And always remember, as you're reaching out, my father always said that as you are climbing, you have an arm back pulling. And so let that be your brand.
I love that. I know my friends in the audience know I'm a big contender of you need your brand. Like that is how I make decisions based on my values, my brand, the decisions I've made in the past. So I love that you had to share that. Thank you. And Lisa, advice.
Why do I have to follow Daisy? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I was not going to say what she said. She didn't steal I didn't even think of that. So anyway. So I guess I define my success as in my continuing learning. Learning's a big deal for me. I have a lot of intellectual curiosity. So, I'm never satisfied just kind of going along. I want to learn something new. I want to meet new people, have new experiences. That makes me feel successful, that I'm out there doing things that I hope are meaningful.
Great. Thank you guys. Okay. And for our last question, this is something I love to ask quite literally everyone I talk to when I'm talking to professionals, anything. Top 3 daily habits that you do every day that keeps you not only productive, but it keeps you on track for success. It does all the things to basically get you up and ready, moving for the day. What are those top 3 things? Daisy, would you like to start? I'll start with oh, wait,
Lisa.
no. We'll go with Lisa.
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yeah.
we'll go with you first. So Daisy can follow you.
So I was thinking about this question. I really only have, I have 2, they're kind of tied together. And this is in recent years, probably in the last 10 years or so. I get up at 5. I don't care what day of the week. I get up really early, sometimes 4:30, between 4:30 and 5, I have an automatic clock. I get up and I do not try to see people, take an appointment until 9. And you get 4 hours is a long time to do stuff between 5 and 9. Even if I start in my office at 8, I'm not going to be with a person until I'm ready mentally. So that time in the morning, I can get my attitude, my mind, everything where it needs to be present and high functioning. That's really my one rule of thumb. Get up at 5.
Maybe I'll start that when I graduate.
That
It's
includes,
really
that
early for
includes
me right
weekends.
now.
That includes weekends and after your birthday party.
Yeah, weekends is even more of a stretch.
Even after dirt bags, 5 o'clock.
I'll start with 7. Daisy.
Okay, see, I'm following.
Yep.
I'm an early riser as well. And I am a woman of faith. So I have Bible study and I have my prayer time because that's my foundation. And then I walk every day, well, except Sundays, 5 to 6 miles. And then I tell my husband of 55 years how much I love it.
Wow, I have a lot of habits to start adding, you guys. Like 5 miles. Okay. Adriana.
But just little small goals, remember.
Okay. Small goals.
So mine actually starts at night, looking at the day, what do I have next day, kind of mentally prepares me. But then also not looking at your phone when you first wake up, because that can just change your whole day. And so just kind of being present, doing what you need to do, and then eventually you'll look at your emails and see what's going on. But it's not, because if I don't look at my calendar at night, then I'll look at it in the morning and then I'll see all the other emails. So that's kind of a habit that I've gotten into.
Love it. All right. And Susan.
So similar theme. I also get up early. Lisa and I think we've texted early in the morning for sure. But I start my day like Daisy, in the word. I also like to, I call it faith and fitness. That's how I start my day. But I think that, I would say prepare. Do not show up to a meeting unprepared. Be the most prepared person in the room. It's noticeable and it's positive. And then lastly, I make, I always have my to-do list, and then I always have a sticky on the side that's like today's to-do list. So I always think of what has to be done today, because I'll work until that one's done. The other stuff can wait. I'm never going to finish it all.
Love it. Thank you guys. I know that was a little more fun, but I appreciate it. I now need to go to bed probably at like 9 p.m. but we'll get there. But seriously, that concludes my portion, or our portion of the questions. I just want to say, let's give it up for them. Those were incredible. Thank you. I've got a few things to add to my to-do list now after listening to all of you to become better. But we are going to move on to the portion of our in-person audience. If you have any questions, and then our online audience, if you have any questions, be sure to submit them in the Q&A function if you are online. We are going to start with our first online question. Daisy, this one actually came in just for you. We have a question okay, here we go. As a Black woman working in a prestigious field, have you had issues with remaining authentic? And how have you dealt with microaggressions, code switching, or people questioning your qualifications?
First of all, they only did it once. All the time, it never stops. And it's interesting. I never had anyone question my intellect, my excellence, my ability to do my job, because I try to always hit the ball out of the park. But the microaggressions, I'll give you an example just in my consulting business. I won't even go back because it would take us the rest of the day. So I had a client who was CEO of a major health system in another state. And so I'm there to meet with him because we met in person often. And I have on my suit and I go to security because you can't get into the building to see these high-powered guys. And the security person on the desk asked me, who are you here to see? And who are you here for? And I named the individual I was here for. And he said, shall I call him and let him know his driver is here? And that, first of all, I was so proud of myself. I didn't blow a gasket or anything. And I just said, yeah, tell him. So the next time I came to visit, guess who wasn't at the security desk? Long gone. But that is just one example. It continues. However, I have not allowed myself to be defined by others. And that's number one. So microaggressions, that's on you. But I am, in a very kind way, I believe in teachable moments. And so when there is a microaggression or when there is something that I know is not appropriate, it's not the right thing, there's a teachable moment for that person right then. And that's why I say it only happens from an individual one time. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope
thank
that helps.
you. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna take it to our live audience. Is there anyone out here that has a question for our panelists? Yeah.
Was like there's something, how did you differentiate like doubts about your future and the loss of love for what you want to do? Because I'm a bio major and sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but I still love it. Or am I losing my love for biology or am I like just having doubts? How did you like differentiate those?
I would say talk to someone in the field, because it's so different when you're, reading a textbook and, maybe I would have liked accounting more had I talked to someone, but, I love the analysis side of it. So I don't regret that, but talk to someone in your field, go in and observe. And, a lot of people will appreciate that. So that would be what I would recommend.
Great. Okay, we're gonna hop back to the online questions. This is a good one. I hope you answer. This is a good question. How do you know when it's time to change your job? How did you know it was the right time to take the leap of faith, changing positions? Anyone can speak to it.
I probably don't have as huge of leaps as you all have taken. But I think for me, it kind of became like, usually my boss would move on or, some opening would come open and I'd say, well, I don't know if I really want to do that job, but also don't want who else would get that job. And so even though it might have felt like a stretch at the time, I decided to go for that next job just because I was afraid of what it would look like if it wasn't me in that role.
I love that.
I never left a job because I didn't like the job. So you're moving towards something else.
Yeah.
Something new, not I'm bored here and I need to find something. So I've never had a moment like that. I always went on to something new and I still liked what I was doing. When I left Procter & Gamble, I cried when I resigned. I brought the letter to my boss and I was like, I might be making the biggest mistake. I loved working for Procter & Gamble. So it can be something very compelling that makes you do it.
Yeah, like Lisa, it's really when something new and exciting had come available. I think you heard me say earlier that I always wanted to make a lot of money. And so if there was a big increase, that was really a motivation part of it. No, but well, I shouldn't say no because that was true. But it really always was when there was another opportunity that would give me allow me to learn and grow and continue to move upwards in my career.
And also, it's that challenge. And I didn't change roles because I didn't like it either. It was a challenge. And I know that I knew that opportunity doesn't come very often if I don't relocate. So, I'd also talked to some of my peers and mentors and got their thoughts and I decided to go for it.
Adriana, you mentioned mentors. Good segue. Another question that we have from our online audience. Can you talk about the importance of mentors and the impact that they've had on your life?
I love all my mentors. And so there is also a difference between mentorship and sponsorship.
Right.
Sponsors are equally even more important, I would say, because those are the ones that are going to be advocating for you. And when I early in my career, I didn't realize it, but that's like I said, I received a package, but they saw something in me, and they advocated for me. And when there's been times where I'm frustrated, it's someone that you can go to. It's someone that you can get advice from. But it's really, you have to define what do you want out of that relationship too, of the mentor-mentee relationship. Just going up to someone that is in a higher position isn't necessarily going to be a good mentor if that's not what you're seeking, the specific skill or what you want out of that relationship. So definitely you'll find them in the weirdest of places and when you least expect them, or if you don't, then seek it out, but know what you want to get out of that mentor-mentee or sponsor relationship.
Anyone else want to speak about?
I would just say,
mentorship?
don't get a mentor necessarily within your own company. A lot of people want to find a mentor in their own organization. Find people like a mentor. You're going to really learn the real stuff, not just how the company works. So I mean, that's a really important piece. It rounds you much better than just finding a mentor within your organization.
And I'm an advocate for your personal board of directors.
Yeah.
And I had a group, someone who would tell me what time it was, and Daisy, you need to get your act together. And then there was someone else who would just help me, lift me back up after I had a canned conversation with that person. And so it was probably at least 5 different people who had various skills and who were in different environments, but they had so much to share. So I'm a strong advocate of that personal board of directors.
Yeah, great responses. I'll just add that the concept of mentoring really allows you to create space for personal development. And so you have this dedicated time, you have to be prepared to meet with this person. So you really need to put in, it creates a space for you to focus on yourself. And it's something that you should always do. None of us have arrived. We can keep learning, we can keep growing. And so I think that's something that's important to keep in your career all the time.
Great, thank you guys. We have time for maybe one more question from the audience. Anyone from our in-person audience have another question? Yeah.
Hello, thank you guys so much for everything today. I just want to say that starts incredibly inspiring. One thing I was curious about, now that you guys are all in such positions of power, you obviously have the ability to develop and impact the culture of these companies. Do you guys have any strategies for creating a culture that the employees and the people below you will truly buy into? And how do you go about that?
I'd love to jump in on that. So yeah, as I've had the opportunity to have more influence in my company, a couple of years ago, we did an employee engagement survey, and the results were that employees didn't really feel connected to the vision and mission of the company. And so I remember when we wrote the last vision and mission statement, there were like 30 of us in the room, the top 30 people in the company. We wrote it, we passed it down. This time we said, hey, let's get everyone involved. Let's ask our employees, what do you love about our company? What do you aspire? What do you hope our company aspires to? And so we collectively wrote our vision and mission statement. And then we collectively wrote the values that define the behaviors that support that vision and mission. So I think it's about including everyone in that conversation so that everyone feels connected to it.
Anyone else?
As a business consultant, I work with executives and able to give them candid advice about their leadership and what needs to be done to create not only excellence in performance, but a culture that embraces all of the talents and all of the energies, the differences and everything that comes into their company. And so it is a role that I truly treasure because sometimes they don't have anyone to give them, to have those candid conversations with. So, and I've absolutely seen it make a difference. So great question. Thank you.
That's a very, very hard job that senior leaders are responsible for, which includes systems to measure it. But I guess the simple way for me to articulate how I try to influence culture is that I bring my authentic self to work. I'm not a different person at home than I am in the office, right? I don't worry about your title when I'm at a dinner party. I don't worry about your title when I'm at the office. So I think that creates the right leadership model, because a lot of people are afraid to bring their authentic self to work. So you never get to know them. You never get to know how different decisions affect them in a human way. And if they don't see leaders doing that, they're afraid to do it. Employees tell me that all the time. Well, you're a vice president, so you can show up like your authentic self. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've been doing this my whole life. This is not new to Cox. But if they don't see it, they won't do it.
Yeah, and that's something that we focus on a lot, within diversity and inclusion. And one of my teammates said, diversity is being invited to the dance, inclusion is dancing with you. And, we have such great backgrounds, viewpoints, and it's really the collaboration and also sharing the why. Why is it that we do what we do? What is our purpose? And so that's what's helped us to build and move forward with responsible growth within the company.
Amazing. Thank you guys. Thank you audience in person and online for submitting those questions. And again, thank you so much. We are officially out of time, but I know on behalf of myself, I am leaving here a better person, full of more knowledge and ready to take it out in May of 2022, not quite yet into the business world. Okay, like more time, please. But seriously, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. And yeah, thank you again. Let's give them one round of applause. I will turn it back over to Lacey and she will close us off.
Right. Thank you, Jordan. Wow, right? And thank you again to our panelists. I was taking notes the entire time. So, and I'm glad that it will be recorded, so you will be able to watch these answers again and watch this discussion. And we are really proud to have you as part of our Wildcat family. Thank you again. All right, yes. So before we send off, we did want to invite you to, everyone will get an email. Please give us feedback about this event and how we can improve in the future and bring other fantastic speakers and members of our Wildcat community to speak and to share their insights. So be sure to look out for that. We will also have this recording on our website at ArizonaAlumni.com. So you'll be able to go and to watch it again, as well as other speakers that we've had in the past, and also look for future speakers. Then just another plug, be sure to stay connected with us on the Bear Down Network at beardownetwork.com, where you can connect and communicate with your online community of Wildcats. And then also never, ever leave town without some Arizona swag. And we have our Arizona bookstores to help us stay in the red and blue 24/7. So be sure to check out their online store or here in Tucson. So thank you again for joining us today. And for those that are in person, we will have a short mixer. For respect for the time for our panelists, we will end that at 1:30. But for our online audience, thank you for joining us today, and go Cats and bear down.